Major funding for Telehell is provided by Dave's Archives. At Dave's Archives, he personally transfers, archives, and preserves classic commercials from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s and shares them with you. Don't forget about his Friday night live stream on, well, guess when? Go to davesarchives.com. By RetroCirc on YouTube. RetroCirc has a whole new look and a new attitude as they bring retro commercials like never before. Always look for RetroCirc with a Q at the end. Bring your team with their team with RetroCirc, a Broadcast Plaza server partner. By Kier's Nostalgia Corner, a collection of commercial compilations, retro nostalgic things, and other random things that come to mind. Look for her on YouTube at KIERS Nostalgia Corner. And don't forget to check out her live streams early in the week. Could be Sundays, could be Mondays. Either way, they're fun days. And by the very generous benefactors who grace us on our Patreon at patreon.com/telehellpodcast, including Ed Beatty Jr., Rhonda Farrell, Rick Kalacki Jr., Chris Michaud, Meredith Morrissey, Rabbite, Spare Parts, and Neil Weinstein. Thank you. Welcome to our 4th annual Telehell charity episode. And before we get to the subject of our show, we have a few words about the 2 charities we'll be supporting this year. The first charity is Donors Choose. And this is one of those charities that you know the money is going to go directly to the people that raise money for it. What do I mean? Well, Donors Choose enables teachers to request materials and resources for their classrooms and make these project requests available to individual donors through its website, donorschoose.org. Donors can give whatever they want to whoever they want, and the best part is it goes directly to the teachers and the schools. There's no corporate people, there's no cogs in the machine. They go straight to the teachers. So if you feel compelled to give the teachers a hand, feel free to do so after the show by going to donorschoose.org. The other charity we're going to be supporting this year is Prizeo. Now, this is a unique fundraising website where for all the money that you donate to various causes, you also get raffle tickets to all kinds of amazing giveaways, largely concert experiences, show experiences, showbiz experiences, even a little bit of money if you are so willing to do so. But the important thing is they raise money for all kinds of charities, and as of this recording, and we're recording this at the end of May, I can tell you that there are charities including Headcount, which uses the power of music and culture to register voters and promote participation in democracy. There's Pride Live, which is dedicated to accelerating awareness and support for the LGBTQ+ community via social advocacy and community engagement to advance the fight for full equality. And the charity that seems to be doing a lot of attention right now, First Tee, a group that empowers kids and teens to be the best versions of themselves by enabling kids to build the strength of character that empowers them through a lifetime of new challenges, whether it be through leadership opportunities, events, community involvement, and even college scholarships. Those are just some of the charities that Prizeo supports. Visit them at prizeo.com. And now that we got that exposition out of the way, the 2024 Telehell charity episode benefiting both Donors Choose and Prizeo officially starts right now. Magic. To some people, it captures the senses and captivates an audience. To others, it can easily be dismissed as smoke and mirrors, and in some rare cases, you can actually do both things and still come off as charming entertainers.
We are serious magicians who do not need punchlines or gimmicks to get our point across.
But that's just one variety of magic. Or if you're heavy into grammar, that kind of magic would be in the form of a noun, i.e. magic show, magic trick, Magic the Gathering, etc. But there's also the use of magic as an adjective. The kind that's less tangible, but more metaphorical. Like whenever somebody says, the magic of something, it really depends on what that something is. You could be watching a baseball game, and you could see somebody hit a game-winning grand slam. That could be considered a magic moment. The same thought might apply if you're watching a movie or a TV show and a very recognizable scene appears that you never forget. That could be the magic of the moving picture in practice. Or even if you go to a museum and marvel into the effort that went into a masterpiece, that could be considered the magic of the arts. So you hopefully get the picture. Magic can be construed as both a literal, tangible thing or a figurative, abstract statement, no matter if it's the noun or the adjective. Magic, not unlike the arts, is still in the eye of the beholder. For instance, I could say that I'm about to do a magic trick, but because this is an audio show, I expect those who listen to invest heavily in the notion of theater of the mind, when in actuality, I'm just doing this as a gimmick to introduce our special guest for today. That being said, dramatic magic music, please! When I say the magic words, my guest for today will appear. Y'all ready for this? Ashibidi-dabidi-doobidi-dabidi-deebidi-dabidi-doo!
When did my bathroom get remodeled?
It didn't. I used the power of magic to teleport you to hell. Would you like to look at an expensive TV show involving a computer-animated lion and misdirected adult humor?
Jeez, it took you long enough. I mean, do I ever?
NBC Tuesday, get pumped up for an all-new Father of the Pride.
Careful with the steroids. They cause shrinkage down there.
Worth it!
Father of the Pride, NBC Tuesday.
And now, if you don't listen, someone else will. This is Telehell.
Okay, poor soul, wipe the toothpaste from your mouth and tell the internet who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Ragland, and I am the host of the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I host a weekly podcast where I bring on artists of all different forms and all different walks of life onto the podcast and talk to them about what got them into the arts.
And it's a good thing that your show has the word art in the title, because today we're going to be looking at one of those great animated atrocities.
Wait, how can something be great and an atrocity?
Great meaning big or immense, nothing with a positive connotation. But before we talk about the cartoon, we must first discuss more magic. In particular, two magicians for whom, without their existence, this show wouldn't be possible. One of the good things to have come from Nazi Germany, a sentence that I had to go back and forth with my conscience to both type and say out loud, was the birth of two soon-to-be entertainers. First, in 1939, a child of the town of Rosenheim in the Upper Bavaria corridor named Siegfried Fischbacher. 5 years later, in 1944, a bouncing baby resident of Nordenham in the Greater German Reich named Uwe Ludwig Horn. I'm assuming Roy was more of a nickname, but I digress. After both they and their families struggled to survive World War II and its aftermath, both young gentlemen discovered various points of interest that would refine and define their eventual careers. During his teen years, Siegfried discovered the world of magic thanks to some books that he found about the subject, and began practicing the art of illusion, while Roy was more interested in the art of zoology, or rather, he had taken an interest into the care of animals, up to and including caring for exotic types at Germany's Bremen Zoo. Then in the 1960s, the two of them would cross paths while working on a German cruise ship. Siegfried was a struggling magician under the stage name Del Mare, while Roy was getting by as a waiter. One night, Siegfried invited Roy to assist him in his act. It was rumored that thanks to his connections to the animal kingdom, Roy was able to smuggle a live cheetah on board the ship for the sake of a magic act. An act that got both men banished from the ship, but not from showbiz. Word of the act spread around Germany, and the duo were soon headlining small clubs in the country, which then led to being discovered by American talent bookers who soon sent the duo packing to Las Vegas, where they would become the most recognized magic act in the world for nearly the next 40 years.
They defined the glitz and spectacle of the Las Vegas Strip. Siegfried and Roy, the ultimate showmen. masters of magic, with their ever-present companions, those white tigers and lions.
The single most successful entertainment attraction in Las Vegas history, 30 years, 48 weeks a year. Capacity business.
Okay, Nate, take it away.
The duo's success would see them jump all over the Vegas Strip. First as a feature act at the Tropicana Hotel and Casino, then their first headlining act at the New Frontier. An act that would culminate in the dream of every performer, a permanent residency, which the duo earned in 1990 when they would move their act once and for all to the Mirage Hotel and Casino. Through it all, the duo would continue to refine their act with the right combination of illusion and exotic animals. In particular, the signature usage of white lions and tigers, in which some of their more elaborate tricks, and for the most part, their tricks went off without a hitch. Cut to the year 2003, when, unfortunately, one of their tricks led to one of the biggest hitches the team would face.
While trying to get the tiger's attention, Roy fell over its right front paw. That's when he was bitten on the neck and dragged.
They maintained that this was an accident, that Roy was falling ill, that the tiger was trying to protect and help him.
During a show at the Mirage on October 3rd, 2003, Roy was attacked by a 7-year-old white tiger. As part of the act, but veering off script, Horn held the microphone to the tiger's mouth and told him to say hello to the audience. The tiger responded by biting Horn's sleeve at first. Horn swatted the tiger and barked, "Release!" while standby trainers attempted unsuccessfully to distract the cat. As trainers rushed to the stage to assist, the tiger then bit into Horn's neck and dragged him off stage toward his cage and... Hold on, why am I reading all these grisly parts?
Because you're my guest, and it's also a matter of historical record and context to the subject we're eventually going to get to.
I know, but don't you think this is a little exploitative?
Look, I know it's uncomfortable to talk about somebody's near demise, but it's all within the context of the story. Just continue.
If you say so. Roy survived, but the attack severed his spine, resulting in massive blood loss and severely injuring other parts of his body. It left him with permanent impairment to his motor and verbal abilities. He also had a stroke either before or after the tiger dragged him off stage. I really don't feel comfortable talking about any of this.
No. You're doing great. That was the worst of it. Just keep going.
I hope so. It's not 100% certain as to the aftermath of the incident. While recovering from the attack, Roy wanted to be sure that the tiger that attacked him was not put down. While at the same time, animal traders at the show alleged that the tiger attacked Roy because the duo mistreated both the tiger and another of other animals, and I'm sorry, I can't read something speculatory. When are we gonna get to the TV show?
Don't worry, we're there. Just be glad that Wikipedia has citations 99% of the time. Anyway, just 1 year before that incident happened, something else was taking shape involving the duo. Not a magic trick, but a way for Siegfried and Roy to expand their influence outside the world of illusion. We've mentioned a time or two about the many toils, trials, and tribulations the NBC network faced during its storied history. Something that we've neglected to talk about in recent years was all the failings upward that were perpetrated by this creature.
I'm not going to comment on the terms of the deals. I think that's not appropriate, but I would just say that we've made a business decision that I think is in the best interests of NBC Universal and NBC, and we made that decision vis-a-vis Jay, and we made that decision vis-a-vis Conan. And
I know it feels like I've set the tee up all the way back in episodes 33 and 70, but I can't stress enough just how much of a villain Jeff Zucker was to the world of television at the turn of the century. Sure, he was praised for making the Today Show into a morning juggernaut for most of the 90s and 2000s, but just because you're good at one aspect of television doesn't exactly mean that you're qualified to do everything else. Quick tangent for a second. For years, we talked about our patron saint, Fred Silverman, and how his successes at other networks catapulted him to the overall presidency of NBC, a much coveted position, but far more multifaceted than his previous position as head of entertainment programming for CBS and ABC. The core difference between Silverman and Zucker, however, was that at least Silverman knew when the writing was on the wall for his shortcomings at NBC. Zucker, on the other hand, simply didn't know the right time to quit while he was still ahead. Given the benefit of the doubt, Zucker did have more than his fair share of successes, but almost immediately coming up with the polar opposite in return. For instance, He pioneered the idea of supersizing episodes of hit shows in the hopes of stealing away other networks' ratings, while at the same time accidentally created a way for people to be annoyed when their DVRs cut off a few minutes early.
Thursday's bigger than ever with Supersized Friends. 10 extra minutes every Thursday all month long. Supersized Friends and SNL in prime time this February.
He helped rejuvenate the cable TV industry, but also made it an incredible waste of fine wine and time.
Every Tuesday with The Real Housewives of New York City, expect fun. The Real Housewives of New York City premieres Tuesday, March 11th at 9/8 Central, only by Bravo.
And perhaps most consequently, he helped champion the genre of reality TV. But oh, the prices he continues to pay.
Introducing The Apprentice. 16 people competing to be hired as president of a Donald Trump company.
Oh yeah, this is definitely big.
And only one person decides who stays and who goes.
You're fired.
The critics are calling it a riot, totally original. The Apprentice premieres January 8th on NBC.
So, just to be clear, Zucker had as many successes as he has faults.
And you haven't even got to the whole Conan situation.
Look, I may be in hell, but I'm still technically only human. And besides, all of that would take place a few years after Zucker would strike a deal with another polarizing titan of showbiz.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's no getting around it. Tonight is certainly an important event, almost as important as a DreamWorks press conference.
I wish I had the time and the patience to go over the career of movie magnate and legendary showbiz short fuse Jeffrey Katzenberg. Super short version, Katzenberg was co-responsible for a number of successes at both Paramount and Disney. He had a fellow co-worker who he got along with at both Paramount and Disney, then later had a massive falling out with that same co-worker from Paramount and Disney. One to skip a few, and that's how we get DreamWorks.
Of course, Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen, one of the big stories of the year, got together and formed DreamWorks SKG, their own studio. Well, they're a hit already, aren't they? That'll send the stock sky high.
And for its first decade, the studio came out with guns blazing, in particular with their animation division, which Katzenberg personally spearheaded, perhaps as one giant middle finger to that former Paramount and Disney co-worker of his. And for the most part, the animation division was giving the House of Mouse a run for their money, even if it meant DreamWorks would hemorrhage a lot of its own money in the early years of its existence.
But you know, to me, it's amazing when you think about it, what these three kids can do with a dream. With a dream and $1.8 billion.
Or at least that would be the case until the year 2001, when somebody
told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
After the massive box office success that the movie had, Shrek became the studio's unofficial mascot, as well as a calling card to the rest of the industry that computer animation was not only here to stay, but would soon turn out to be the industry standard.
Hold it. Stop right there. I'm sorry, but as somebody whose own podcast discusses the wide spectrum of the arts in the world with several artists in those arts, I just need to say something about computer animation.
Be my guest.
Well, I mean, computer animation as a whole, like, it's, especially at the time that this show came out, and especially at the time that we're talking about, like, it was something that was still developing and still growing. I mean, Pixar was already well-renowned at this point with such hits as, obviously, Toy Story and such, but that's how we got into this whole entire situation with Katzenberg. I mean, looking at computer animation, it really unleashed a whole new realm of possibilities for so many animators to create so many worlds. Obviously, we see with Shrek what happened, and obviously how that kind of sparked DreamWorks' own path. And you could just look around these days to see just how much it's kind of developed. It's absolutely outstanding how far computer animation has even come.
Good to know. So now, to make a long story short, the two Jeffs, both Zucker and Katzenberg, decided that because computer animation was becoming a flag bearer for motion pictures, that it would only be a matter of time until TV would follow suit. So the two of them hammered out a deal that would allow for a then rarity of sorts: a fully computer animated sitcom airing in prime time on broadcast television. One immediate drawback, however, was just exactly how long it would take to put a series so technologically advanced together. Traditionally, animated TV shows have a script-to-screen timeline of about roughly 9 months of production per episode. Given how primitive the technology was for computer animation at the turn of the century, the timeline would increase to 2 years. Minor setback, but at least it would give NBC and DreamWorks ample time to set up the show, the premise of which was devised by Katzenberg himself after watching one of Siegfried and Roy's performances in 2002, stating, quote, "I thought, I wonder what it's like for those lions. What must life be like from their point of view? They're living in Las Vegas, trying to raise a family and earning a living. In animation, we look for those things. A way to look at our lives through a fantasy world. It allows us to take on subjects that are too difficult to do with real people. It allows us to be more controversial, edgier. There can be parody and innuendo and satire. Things can be sophisticated in a way that even our feature films can't be." End quote.
In other words, it's The Simpsons and Family Guy, but with animals?
More or less. After all, we do live in a society where you have to be legally distinct enough to avoid a lawsuit of some kind. Sure, the father on this show would be the typical bumbling but good-hearted type. Sure, the wife on the show is the attractive, patient, but highly questioning of the male's harebrained schemes type. Sure, the kids are either a combination of a rebel, a smarty pants, or both. And sure, there's also a fifth member of the family who could be seen as a wild card, whether it be as a wisecracking baby or, in this case, a wisecracking senior citizen. And oh, son of a bitch, it is The Simpsons and Family Guy, but with animals. But I guess because the show gets stamps of approval from Siegfried and Roy and the Mirage Hotel, it's easier to get away with it. Speaking of, and circling back to the Roy Horn incident, the show was almost canceled before it even aired because of said incident. But in the spirit of the show must go on, several completed episodes were shown to the duo while Roy was recovering. As Katzenberg recalled, quote, "There was a short period of time where it all just rocked out on our heels and couldn't be particularly creative and certainly not very funny. But Siegfried kept saying every step of the way that this show meant so much to them, so much to Roy. Then even more than it ever did." End quote. And with that vote of confidence, the show went on. But not before NBC wanted to at least see some proof of concept from DreamWorks. So with that, we must now visit a Hollywood screening room. The year 2004. The Summer Olympics were taking place in Athens, Greece. The presidential election was a race between a goofy cowboy and a boring man. And somewhere at NBC's studios in Burbank, executives were about to watch a TV show that could very much make history for a number of reasons. Though, if you spot any, please let us know.
Whoa, Vincent, what's going on?
I'll tell you what's going on. Snack here was supposed to score me 5 pounds of shrimp.
I had a little problem with my distributor.
Little problem? All I got was cherry tomatoes. What, you think you could jerk me around, pal, just 'cause I'm pink? Let's all have a big laugh.
Hashtag Pink Lives Matter. But regardless, this scene is pretty much here to establish that our main man with a mane, voiced by John Goodman, is pretty much there to be the sanctuary's peacekeeper, mediator, and all-around salt-of-the-earth type who has just a little too much trouble dealing with his family. Starting with his kids, the daughter, voiced by Danielle Harris, and the son, played by Daryl Sabara.
Bye, Dad.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sierra, where do you think you're going?
Out. Jenna's stuck up older sisters in heat, and we're gonna watch her lower her standards.
You know how we always told you could tell us anything?
Yeah?
We're done with that. And sorry, you gotta babysit Hunter while Mom and I are at the show.
Oh, come on, Dad. He could take care of himself. Besides, his rash grosses me out.
You'll never catch me, General Zingulax.
Just as Larry is relaxing, along comes our sitcom standard put-upon wife, played by Cheryl Hines, who's no stranger to dealing with people named Larry.
Larry, what are you doing here?
Based on your tone, I'm guessing the wrong thing.
Yeah, you're supposed to be picking up my dad. You have to walk him to the show.
What? Is that today?
Yeah, remember I have a photo shoot for that calendar?
Oh, come on, Kate. I mean, I know your dad's old and all, but...
Larry, it's not because he's old. It's just his pre-show ritual.
And now, just to get the reference out of the way, here's how that other Larry would have handled that interaction with Cheryl.
I thought... forget it.
No,
think?
Well, you said we need to talk. Generally, when couples break up, that's how they introduce it. We need to talk. So I just thought it was...
Which brings us to the patriarch of our family, Sarmodi, a nod to our magician's trademark acronym meaning Siegfried and Roy, Masters of the Impossible. He would be voiced by the legendary Carl Reiner, and will certainly live up to the impossible in that acronym.
Who's that? Larry.
Larry?
Yeah.
I thought you were some kind of whacked-out hippie gonna murder me.
No, not me.
No, not you. You have a different approach. You married my daughter. You're killing me slowly.
Good one.
So, in the opening minutes, we pretty much establish every possible sitcom cliche you could think of. Dysfunctional family, wacky sidekicks, tensions between generations, etc. And yet, all of that could be forgiven thanks to the stacked cast that clearly Jeffrey Katzenberg pulled more strings than a marionette convention to assemble.
I mean, I think that's the thing that, surprised me more than anything about this show, going into it. The incredible cast, and especially the guests that got lined up for the show, that came along with this thing. Obviously, when they were developing the show, they had high expectations that the cast would probably help carry it one way or another. I mean, you can't go wrong with John Goodman one way or another. Cheryl Hines is a very serviceable person and really does a good job in her role. Carl Reiner is a legend for a reason. I mean, there's no reason why the cast alone should really carry this. I mean, you got all those things, having Danielle Harris and Daryl Sabera, which for the people in my generation that remember Daryl Sabera as the kid from Spy Kids. But yeah, no, that's what's genuinely surprised me going into the show. How could you have such a good cast and yet not live up to expectations? But I guess that's why we're here, right?
In spite of a stellar cast, the plot is about as boilerplate as a sitcom can get. The younger generation takes over for the older one, and the old generation isn't having any of it.
Oh, look, the White Tigers are heading over to the stage. I should say hello.
We really need to get going.
Hey, stripers, lazy throw rug looking wastes of fur. You do bupkis in the show. I'll come out there right now and move you up 8 notches on the endangered species list. Feh!
With a side order of racism? No, it's animals. So, speciesism?
That's a thing. Shut up.
Now I'm ready.
Finally.
What's your rush?
I was just thinking maybe you need some time to stretch. Noticed you kind of grazed the hoop last night on your final jump.
What are you saying? I'm old?
No, I just...
Feel these haunches. Spring-loaded.
Nah, I'm good.
Feel them.
I'd rather not.
Do it! Don't touch me, fruit cup. Point is, I'm as strong as ever.
Insert political validation here, 20 years from now, as we enter the Siegfried and Roy Theater where our authorized voice doubles for the duo give us their own brand of magic.
Please accompany us now as we travel to the mystical land of the pharaohs and pyramids.
Burn them. Oh my God, they're gonna die. Siegfried and Roy are gonna die.
And now we just found out why this pilot wasn't the first show to air. Awkward.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say "to be fair" a lot here. For instance, to be fair, we mentioned how it takes 2 years for a computer-animated cartoon to be made from script to screen. So for this to be presented in 2004 means that the script, at the very least, had to have been written in 2002. And once all is said and done, it's pretty difficult to turn around and edit a few lines and, in this case, some scenes due to some awkward timing in the real world.
Yeah, you got a point. And before anyone brings up the argument of South Park also being computer-generated, yet famously taking only 6 days to make an episode, sometimes right up to the minute with topical humor, keep in mind that South Park is a bit more bare bones in its animation compared to the CG you're seeing with DreamWorks. There's a lot of moving parts with this kind of animation, such as rigs, 3D environments, algorithms, all sorts of complicated processes that we don't have enough time to get into. One mistake could take years for them to fix. So it's probably for the best for them to steamroll ahead with little regards of bad luck and timing.
Speaking of bad timing, this leads to Sarmodi's eventual ousting from the show.
The original White Lion, it all began with the star of our show, the great Sarmoti.
Okay, we promised to make this our YouTube trailer this week, but for those curious, let's just say it was a scene that could only happen in the early 2000s. As the magicians prepare their act,
Dick Cheney. And that's all I gotta say.
well, there is more to it than that. He's sitting in the front row while the Magic Men do their closing act involving a flying bicycle. While they're flying around, Sarmodi decides to go rogue and jump from a pyramid on stage to a nearby hovering disco ball. The magicians are stunned by this unplanned move, bump into Sarmodi, knocking the hairpiece off his head and landing squarely on Dick Cheney's. Yes, a lion is wearing a hairpiece. It can happen in a cartoon. Afterwards, Sarmodi retrieves the wig from Cheney, Cheney passes out, and then an orangutan does a spinning plate act. And I have to wonder if I accidentally huffed pain.
I mean, I think you basically kind of illustrated it with the talking in the clips, but at the same time, like, good lord, I don't know if it's just like, the more I look at the script, or look at this pilot, it makes me wonder, like, at what points they really wanted to emphasize and at what points they were trying to fill out time. Like, I know they were trying to showcase how Sarmodi's kind of slipping in a way, but, like, they're slipping and then there's whatever this was, because this was something else. I think that's all I can say. This is something else.
So now, because of the elderly lion going AWOL, we begin Act 2 with Siegfried and Roy doing damage control.
This would not have happened if you had flown your bicycle higher, further up away from the ground.
Oh, it is the flying. No, it is your training of the kitty. Yes, that is my conclusion.
You know what I am conclusioning? That you are hurtful to my person.
That's it. I am disappearing myself to my room.
Our friendship is very important to me. Let's all pile into the minivan and go get some frozen yogurt.
And while that's taking place, Walter Sobchak and Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s wife try to cope with their elder's abuse.
Larry.
I'm sorry, Kate, but admit it. The whole thing was pretty hysterical.
It was not. It was horrible.
Oh, come on. Did you see the look on Siegfried's face? Achtung, the lion, he is born.
Did I say cope? I mean childishly mock, which I guess to some may be considered a coping mechanism depending on how dysfunctional the family is. Meanwhile, let's get to know another inhabitant of the menagerie, as well as somebody who is much lower and more vulnerable on the food chain. A gopher named Snack, voiced by Orlando Jones.
Did you hear the news? Sarmodi is out of the show. That old bastard is out of here. Hello, Kate.
Yeah, get used to that music sting, folks, because with Cheryl Hines involved here, I have a feeling we're going to be doing that a lot today.
It's not fair. My father doesn't deserve this.
Right.
I mean, there wouldn't even be a show without him. He is the show.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. You're glad this happened.
What are you talking about?
You've got Happy Tail.
I do not.
You're pathetic.
Fine. Forgive me if I'm not as upset as you. Your dad's always hated me.
That's not true.
First time I met him, I try to be polite. I go to sniff his bottom. He sprays me.
That was an accident.
He ran after me backwards, shouting, "Take a shower, hippie."
Meanwhile, back to Snack, who dispenses advice to Larry. And the more I see this, the more I keep thinking this is just a PG-rated version of what J.B. Smoove would eventually do with that other Larry on that other show.
Look, here's the problem. You were right about Sarmodi, but you picked the wrong time to be right.
But I am right.
It doesn't matter. Your play in this situation, Larry, is to set aside your feelings for her dad and just be there for her.
And now here's the same version of that conversation, but with dirtier language.
You shut up. Porno?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Seriously. And a hot dog eating contest. Constipated. And I still fucking won. That's not a fucking excuse. You cannot let this bitch use constipation as something to lean on. You got to fire that bitch.
Yeah, well, that's easier said than done.
Why don't you take the next scene, Nate?
You got it. So now, in an effort to not only get back on his wife's good side and restore dignity to her father, Larry tries to make an appeal to Siegfried and Roy, with Snack the Gopher working as a human-to-animal interpreter. Shit, I think I may be huffing the same pain as you are. Especially once you learn the hows and whys of interspecies communication.
You see, when humans meditate, their brains are more receptive to subliminal stimuli. That's STIMULI, no E. Fine, I'll move on. A portal opens, allowing my thoughts and desires to enter.
Where do you get this stuff?
I read, Larry, and I make things up.
I read and I make things up. If nothing else, at least this show helped predict the rise and moral decay of social media. Follow me on Twitter, by the way. For the sake of this being a cartoon, however, it's just crazy enough to work. Sort of.
Repeat after me. I will keep Sarmodi in the show as the star.
Yeah. I will call my father and let him know I forgive him.
What? No. Keep Sarmodi in the show. Do you hear me, you stupid human? Keep...
Was ist das?
Hey, Roy, how's it hanging?
Which brings us to the second reason why NBC decided not to air the pilot. The increasing number of circumstances that keep putting Roy Horn in moral danger. Which, not for nothing, kind of makes me wonder which episode the networks chose to screen for the real Magic Men, because if they saw any of this while Roy was recovering, this show would have never seen the light of day. And to make an awkward situation even more so...
Larry, he saved my life.
Oh, as you saved his long ago.
Can it be?
Fate has spoken.
The circle is complete. Larry is our new star.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a prime example of the Peter Principle in action, which would probably explain more or less why Jeff Zucker felt so strongly about this show. So now that Larry has become the alpha male in the world of showbiz lions, there's now the matter of breaking the news to Sarmodi at the start of Act 3.
I guess I better go tell him.
No, this one's mine. I'll tell him.
You're serious?
Yeah, I know he's not my biggest fan, but it really should come from me. I'll be back later, then we can cuddle and watch Conan.
Were you talking to me or the couch?
Well, let's all meet at 12:30 and see what happens.
Well, it wouldn't be an NBC-related piece of anything without even the most transparent use of corporate synergy. It would actually have been weirder if there wasn't any at all. But in this particular case, we also need to mention the developer of this show, writer-producer Jonathan Groff, who, aside from being a durable producer for shows like How I Met Your Mother and Blackish, among others, also spent his formative years writing for, you guessed it, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. So that was nice of him to tip his hat to the Coco that helped pave his way. Anyway, Larry has to break the bad news to Sarmodi, who takes it surprisingly well, albeit with a dose of melancholy.
When I grew up in Africa...
You've been fired, you crazy old coot!
What?
They fired you and they made me the new lead. That's why I had the medallion. Siegfried and Roy gave it to me.
Crap. I guess part of me knew this was coming. Well, it was a hell of a ride. Did I ever tell you about the time I worked with the great Jackie Gleason? It was a good time. Yes, sir. That was a good time.
And I guess that's to be expected for a primetime animated series of any kind. Have it be the right mix between cute and fuzzy for the young viewers while still giving the adults watching a slight edge to make things...
Hold it. You're jumping the gun. You gotta have one more punchline on a show like this.
Look at them. They love each other.
Yeah. I'm having an idea.
Is it the same idea I am having?
Yeah. To reward Sarmodi for his years of service, why don't we move him in with Larry and his daughter Kate? He loves them so much.
He loves them.
No!
And that was the original pilot to Father of the Pride, an episode of television that never saw the light of day until its appearance on the show's inevitable DVD release in 2005, or when the series became a part of the Peacock streaming service in 2020. but it was still enough of a proof of concept that, in spite of a still recovering magician casting a shadow over things, NBC was eager to pick up and promote the shit out of it during that year's Summer Olympics. And considering this was also the year that long-running staples like Friends and Frasier had just left the airwaves, it pretty much felt like the future of the network was practically riding on the success of this show. But since the pilot had a bit of an air of too soon lingering around, the network had to scramble to put on an opening night show that wouldn't call too much attention to something that was still fresh in people's minds.
Father of the Pride brings you the wild life of Las Vegas, where raising a family
Everyone out!
isn't easy.
You are the worst
Oh yeah,
parents.
that'll get people to tune in. How much did this show cost them to make?
Well, estimates of about $2.5 million per completed episode, making this one of the most expensive TV series ever produced. To put that in perspective, the infamous Super Train spent $7 million just to put the pilot episode together, with estimates of up to $1 million more per show for the remaining 8 that aired. Adjusted for inflation, that adds up to about $64.5 million today. Father of the Pride put together a total of 14 completed episodes, plus 1 lost episode that was completed with audio tracks and storyboards for a DVD release in 2005. So if that 1 lost episode were to count, that would add up to a hair over $62 million in today's money. And we'll get to see all of that money do its own disappearing act
after the break.
Do you like magic?
Mm-hmm. Siegfried and Roy?
That is not possible. What do you like about them? Their tricks or their showmanship or...
And their hair. I love their hair.
It's time for you.
It's time for you to spread your wings and do the thing.
What you singing? It's see you in Vegas. Come to see Las Vegas,
Our town.
It's time for you.
He did it again. Drives me crazy.
A friendly reminder that whether you click on this show on our regular streamers or if you're watching us on YouTube, we're going to be donating $1 for every click between those 2 places to 2 charities this year. One is Donors Choose, and the other is Prizeo. Nate, would you like to say something somewhat educational involving either charity?
With Prizeo, I'm very much aware of how they kind of set up their things. They basically are set up to where people, if they want, can donate and be entered for an opportunity for an incredible, experience in one way or another, while also their donations are obviously going to a charity of whoever's hosting it is choosing. It's a fantastic organization that both gives back to the charity people, but also actually gives back to the community and really helps them out. Plus, from what I've seen, they've got some really cool experiences in there. I think I've at least applied for 1 or 2, helping out charity first and foremost, more than anything else. But I mean, regardless, it's a really cool experience for those that may have never heard of Prizeo before.
And as of press time, we have not quite exactly figured out which specific prize on Prizeo we'd like to go for, but rest assured, everything is indeed going to be going towards a good cause. Not unlike Donors Choose, which we have also chosen this year because, and this is sort of on the off-the-camera biographical side, I know many friends who are teachers, and teachers, they deserve a lot of credit for a lot of things, but even more so, they deserve every opportunity that they can to try and fund their classrooms and just keep things going, even with the most basic of materials, whether it be school supplies or other materials, maybe even a pizza party at the end of the year or so. Now, this episode is going to drop in June, which means that most school years are about to come to an end, but that doesn't necessarily mean that school will be closed during the summer. There's still summer courses, there's still all sorts of things that kids do during the summer, and it involves local schools. Donors Choose is a nonprofit organization that allows individuals to donate directly to public school classroom projects. The organization has been giving Charity Navigator's highest rating every year since 2005, and since January 2018, a total of 1 million projects have been funded. And best of all, these are local schools that you are supporting, or at least we will be supporting, so where I live, outside the podcast, of course, it's going to be some schools in the Hudson Valley of New York because, again, I know a lot of teachers who work in that area. They can use all the help they can get right now. So we are very proud to choose both Prizeo and Donors Choose as this year's charities.
Now that I'm hearing more about Donors Choose, I'm glad that's a charity you guys that we're going to be going with for Telehell, because my brother and my sister-in-law, they're both teachers as well, and knowing the struggles that they kind of have to go through when it comes to getting things set up and getting projects set up when there's only so much school funding set up, I think this is a perfect charity. I'm so glad that you're choosing this is one of the charities to go with.
Wonderful. And now, here's what else we're going to be covering this week.
This week on Telehell's premium content of The Damned.
You know, I went on a spree in '83, skiing in Switzerland, a little golf in Scotland, sailing and fishing off the coast of Mexico, swimming in Hawaii, and on my way to that city by the bay with its restaurants and ambiance, San Francisco, I decided to stop over in Duluth to catch my breath. But you know what? It took my breath away. I could have saved myself a lot of travel, and you know why? Because it's all right here, Duluth. Who loves you, baby? I do.
The only way to listen to Telehell's premium content of The Damned is by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Telehell podcast. For just a few bucks a month, you can listen to our premium content and get some swag along the way. Once again, that's patreon.com/Telehell podcast. And now, back to this week's torture.
August 31st, 2004. The World Trade Organization authorizes the imposition of sanctions against the United States for persistent violation of global trade laws. The baseball team, formerly known as the Cleveland Indians, give the New York Yankees their worst defeat in history with a score of 22-0. And at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central, we're greeted with father and son, whose main character trait is that he wears one of those plastic cones around his neck, for reasons.
Dropping Hunter off, and I gotta get home to Kate. She's in heat. This is the first day we've had any alone time. No Hunter, no Sierra, no Sarmodi. Just Kate and me in 45 minutes.
Ah, a little bungle in the jungle. A little zoom zoom in the boom boom.
What zoom zoom in the boom boom?
You're too young to know.
Now, before we continue, I'm gonna need you to bear with me once again, as, just like we did a few weeks ago with Oliver Bean, I tried to explain how this one wound up being the one that the network decided to air first. Now, we just sat through the unaired pilot, and according to the Wikipedia entry on this show, Episode 2 wouldn't air until December 2004 as part of a 3-show marathon. Episode 3 would air in September, and Episode 4 would actually be the one that would air on TV first. The only reason I can think of as to why the shows aired out of order was the simple fact that the Roy Horn mauling was still very much fresh in people's minds, and NBC was trying desperately to find an episode to air that was not only fully completed in production, but also bore as little reference or resemblance to the incident as possible, even though people watching this first aired episode may wind up completely in the weeds as to who's who and what's what in terms of plot and character establishment. So now, let's continue establishing what's supposed to pass for an opening salvo. The opening minutes are probably the one element from the pilot episode that they felt was worth repeating, in that Larry is essentially the animal habitat's answer man, as all the other species turn to him for advice and wisdom, even though he clearly wants to be somewhere else.
Larry, is that a mole? I can't tell. Be honest.
Roger, I can't do a mole check right now.
Do you know how much it took to make myself that vulnerable to you, crap face?
A reminder that this was an animated TV series from the year 2004. And considering DreamWorks' body of work by this point, the powers that be couldn't help but make things just a little edgy for a TV audience.
I mean, that's kind of been their MO ever since they really started. I mean, that's why Katzenberg left Disney in order to really get things with DreamWorks going. I mean, look at the big mega hit that DreamWorks had, Shrek. It literally took the expectations of the fairy tale and smashed it to oblivion, you know, with how Shrek carried out the fairy tale more than anything else. And it's been an endearing hit ever since. DreamWorks has always kind of had this thing of trying to be kind of the anti-Disney in a way. So it being edgier for TV audience is no surprise, to be honest.
So edgy is this show that the plot of the episode is Larry looking to achieve the circle of life with his wife. But naturally, something has to get in the way.
Hey, Big Daddy's home and he's ready for loving. It may be 9 o'clock in New York, but right here, it's mountain time.
Oh, hi, Larry.
Fool Lynn? Oh, man.
If only that was the show's theme song. Which brings us to something that the pilot couldn't give us, a title sequence, and John Goodman giving us a far better version of Viva Las Vegas than Lloyd Owen could ever give us in the town of Laughlin.
Bright light city's gonna set my soul on fire. I got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, so get those stakes up high. I'm gonna give it everything I got. Lady luck, please let the dice stay hot. Let me shoot a 7 with every shot. Hey, Viva Las Vegas.
How much do you think we have to pay John Goodman to sing I'm Still Standing?
Not enough. But as long as he's not on an escalator singing it at the same time.
Yeah, that might be a little extra.
And if nothing else, at least the title sequence is a serviceable nod to a bunch of other landmarks in Las Vegas, up to and including the Mirage Hotel. Though I'm not 100% sure if any promotional consideration fees were paid to DreamWorks and NBC for all the name drops. If so, at least it would have helped allocate the show's sizable budget for the era. Act 1 picks up where we left off, where one of the Pride's panda friends vents her frustrations, as evident in the title of this episode, What's Black, White, and Depressed All Over.
I hope you weren't going to use this plant stand. I just get so hungry when I realize I don't have a man, and I never will.
Yeah, that's sad. All right, look, we still got a good half hour till your dad gets home.
Larry, this isn't really the time.
This is the perfect time. You're in heat. I'm not hungry. I just peed.
Oh, that's very romantic, Larry. But it's not going to happen.
Okay. I'm not going to play any more Curb Your Enthusiasm clips because I'm in enough hot water with Warner Brothers Discovery as it is. So instead, anytime something Curb-esque comes up in the show, I'll play one of Larry David's many moments from the short-lived sketch comedy show, Fridays.
You still call it making love if the whole thing's over in a minute and a half? I make love.
Getting back to the point, this panda, voiced by another Conan connection, Lisa Kudrow, is having troubles in her life.
My best friend is 2 feet away, weeping on our couch.
Oh my God, there she is. That's my stupid sister. I can't believe she's having a baby.
That's great. You're going to be an aunt.
Great. She's younger than I am. It's humiliating. Does she look fat?
Well, she is pregnant.
Oh, stop taking her side. Don't I deserve happiness too?
Oh, honey, of course you do.
Foolin, you are beautiful and smart and creative.
I know, and that's exactly what scares men away. Why can't they just accept a woman who completely has her act together?
Gee, what was that line Lisa Kudrow said on BoJack Horseman again?
When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
So technically that would make Kudrow's character here black, white, and red all over. So now a female panda is all alone and feels that the world is caving in on her. Cue an expositional plot point in 3, 2...
Quiet! Look at the TV!
His name is Bong Bong, and he's about to take a journey to Las Vegas, where he has been purchased by Siegfried and Roy with the purpose of starting a panda breeding program. In other news...
Whoa, hold on. What was that?
What was what?
At the end of the news report, they had a still shot of a clown holding a gun and the caption underneath that says, "Summer is here." What the hell does any of that mean?
Clown with a gun? Excuse me.
Are you okay?
It's a long story, and the last thing I need is for that long story to be punctuated with weaponry. Let's just call it a non sequitur and move on. So a new panda comes to town and raises the spirits of Phoebe the panda. Yes, I know that's not her character's name here, but who cares at this point? And that, more or less, is the story of the episode. The sooner Larry can hook up Phoebe Panda with a potential mate, the sooner Larry can do some hooking up of his own.
Okay, so here's the plan. We get to the new panda early, so we can trick him into hooking up with Fu Lin before he finds out she's nuts.
She's not nuts, Larry. She's just going through a tough time.
Whatever. Just know if Fu Lin is still on our couch tomorrow, I'm buying a gun on the internet and hiring someone with fingers to shoot me.
There's that edginess again. Perfectly suitable for an early primetime audience, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll get to that. For now, let's just gloss over the fact that Siegfried and Roy are in astronaut suits as we get to meet a potential panda maid, voiced by yet another Conan connection, Andy Richter.
Hi, I'm Nelson.
Nelson? I thought your name was Bong Bong.
Bong Bong? That's my slave name.
Well, I'm Larry, and this is my wife, Kate.
Great to meet you.
Hey, Nelson, how'd you like to swing by the watering hole for a drink later?
I'd love to.
Great.
Goodbye, Earthen friends. We must be leaving you now and returning to the stars.
Yeah, we're giving Saturn a new ring. Things are getting serious.
A reminder that this being an animated series, the laws of reality are more flexible than a gymnast gunning for gold in Paris this summer, which would be just as good a time as any to pick your brain, Nate, on what you would say, in the most layman of terms, what are your thoughts on how art in general can be best interpreted?
How much time do you have?
It's a podcast. Go nuts.
When it comes to just art and interpretation, I've always been a person to believe that art is a way for a person to best interpret, their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings. It's more or less the medium for a person to communicate in one way or another. So with art in general, I mean, look at all the different realms of art that we have. Music, animation, drawing, graffiti, you name it, you list it or whatnot. It could be a way for a person to kind of interpret how they feel, really let loose and really express themselves the best way that they can possible. I mean, looking at animation alone, look at some of the most beautiful pieces of animation out there and how it tells some of the most amazing stories possible, as compared to a show like this where it kind of tells us, we think we know what the audience wants. No, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, like a show like this, like from the outside, looks like it's trying to express what is like the family morals, the family mentality at the end of the day in a unique setting that it may not have showcased before. But if that's how Katzenberg and crew wants to showcase, interpret and express themselves, so be it.
So now let the setup to the hookup and possible knock-up begin. Or as Sarmoti will eloquently put it,
chemistry. What chemistry? You're a panda, I'm a panda. Thanks for the ride. Tell your friends.
I really don't want to call a legend to the carpet here. And I won't. Carl Reiner was already in his 80s when he did this, and at that age, you can pretty much do whatever you want without shame and still be respected as an elder. So let's move on to the actual panda hookup.
Kate's best friend, Fu Lin, the female giant panda, is here.
What's going on? Is this a fix-up?
It's just a drink.
You didn't tell me there'd be girls!
Nelson, come back!
The bear be gay. New odds.
So now we have a new problem. The boy is shy and the girl is moody. What can we do to fix this?
What's going on?
Nothing. It's just, I've had very little experience with women.
How little?
None. I've never even seen another panda.
So that would make you a virgin.
Shh! The dudes don't need to know that. What up, playa?
Why, there's a wide variety of pickup lines that you could use, courtesy of that tall, red-headed guy you've been working with for 30 years.
You seem peevish right now. I hope I have not caused you vexation or any unpleasant cogitations. I wish to, where does it say, get it on?
Maybe not that one. But basically, we're now about to take part in a time-tested sitcom cliche. The male friend giving his other male friend bad advice when in actuality all the other friend has to do is be himself but doesn't realize it until the very end of the story.
Little wordy, don't you think? Maybe we can shorten that? The show's already clocking in over an hour at this point.
Okay, how about guy teaches other guy to be a jerk for the sake of personal gain?
That's kinda better?
Well, what would you call it?
I'd call it 90% of sitcom plots since the dawn of time.
Fair enough. Let's go now to the attempted hookup going just great.
Look, Nelson, I think you're trying too hard.
Really?
Yeah, relax. You're a great guy. You're smart and funny and cute.
Cute?
Oh, I mean handsome. You've got waspy good looks like James Spader.
You think so?
Absolutely. Look, just be who you are. Any woman would be lucky to have you.
Thanks, Kate.
Oddly enough, things actually turn out just great. Andy Panda and Phoebe Panda seem to be getting along, which by no possible segue whatsoever leads us to illusion-based espionage.
Our experiment unfolds. Soon we will unlock the mysteries of panda sensuality. Luckily, we are perfectly camouflaged for the observation process.
Yeah, it seems as though our two illusionists are kind of foils in this one. They don't care about actual love between two animals. They just want to corner the market on cute and fuzzy pandas.
Or so the Germans would have us believe.
But regardless, it looks like everybody is actually getting along just great, thanks in large part to Lioness Cheryl Hines' advice working well. Unfortunately, it looks like it may have worked a little too well.
You're funny. You're right, he's cool.
You're doing great.
Yeah, it's great. She's great, I'm great, it's all just great. You know what else is great? I am in love with you.
What?
Tonight is right for love. You know I wanna touch you while the lights don't go. Tonight is right for love. Love gravy.
A reminder that even though this show aired at 9 p.m., this is supposed to be a family yet edgy animated sitcom that airs in prime time. No matter how adult the content may be or how late it's on, there's still gonna be kids, or at least some teens or tweens watching, and the chances are pretty high that any kids watching with their parents are probably asking, "Mommy, how can a bear and a lion love each other?" While the parents feverishly change the channel to something a little bit more wholesome, like House on Fox.
Dr. House. I don't think we've met.
Dr. Jamie Conway. I've heard your name.
Most people have. It's also a noun.
So now we must undo a potential interspecies romance, complete with commentaries by a pair of Germanic David Attenboroughs playing God.
These are all animal pheromones developed in our laboratory, and as you know, pheromones are the key to sexual attraction in the animal kingdom.
Shake well, apply directly to panda. Repeat as needed. Are you sure this will work?
They're very powerful.
Okay, I know I'm playing with fire here just by asking this, but is Jeffrey Katzenberg an animal enthusiast? Like, in this episode in particular, there's a lot of interspecies mingling, but now we have animals standing in line to have their way with computer-animated Siegfried, and that was enough for Katzenberg to say, you know what, I like it.
Put it on TV!
Well, he does have cats in his name, though I wouldn't go that far. If anything, blame the writer of the episode.
Okay, let's see. Father of the Pride, writers. Episode, What's Black and White and Depressed All Over, written by Peter Melman. Oh, I know that name. He wrote a handful of Seinfeld episodes, and he's also a producer on this show. Let's see. No, nothing that I see that would indicate that he's got an animal kink of some kind.
You should probably quit it while you're ahead. We've already gotten the furry community's attention by reviewing this show. Any more research and you'll get targeted ads for $1,000 fursuits.
Yeah, let's keep going. Phoebe Panda thinks Andy Panda likes her, but Andy Panda likes Bobby Kennedy's wife. And now the damage needs to be undone.
Look, Nelson, I think you're a little confused here.
Oh, yeah? Well, I might not know how to tango, but I know how to man dance. Bring it, meat. Come on, you want some of this?
Damn it, you're too adorable.
Oh, don't hurt me. I can't take a punch.
Well, maybe not as a panda, but certainly as a robot opera singer who fights crime.
That's a random combination of words.
Are they, though?
Robot opera singer fights crime.
There's nothing I can't find on the internet, for crying out loud. Anyway, Larry tries to set Andy Panda straight on the primal forces of both nature and attraction.
Oh, you're right. I am such a dork.
Don't feel bad. Look, you got great taste. Kate's special.
I acted like an idiot.
Don't sweat it. You wouldn't believe the stuff I did when I first met Kate. I wrote poetry. I made her a necklace out of roadkill. I even sang to her. Billy Joel.
Happens to all of us. When I first met my true love, Glenda, I must have wrote 30 songs in one weekend.
Travis, get in here!
Then she up and died, and I got stuck with this bitch.
Once again, cartoon that airs at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central. But regardless of that, it still looks like Andy Panda is on the right path, and who the hell are we kidding? There's still 7 minutes left.
Kate, I'm in love with you. Drop this clown and run away with me.
Oh, you went... What?
The flowers weren't for you. They're for Kate.
Fulin, it's not what you think.
I can't believe you. I have one chance in a million, and you steal him. Don't look at my ass. This is humiliating.
That's 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central. So now, further records need to be set straight, and Carl Reiner needs to supplement his Social Security income.
Let me save you a lot of heartache. You're not a power hitter. Just lay down a bunt, get on base, and thank the merciful Lord they even let you suit up.
Maybe you're right. I guess I could at least give it a try with Fulin.
Great.
Wait a minute. Did it ever occur to you that maybe I could do better?
No, that did not occur to me. Good Lord, your whole species is meshuggah. No wonder you're going extinct.
I deserve love!
Wrong. You're a middle-aged fat virgin panda. You deserve Nelson.
At the risk of sounding a little too cynical, I think this show is a little too cynical for the audience that they're trying to reach. Like, you know they're trying to be more like the shows on Fox or even some cable shows, but it just feels like they're trying too hard.
I mean, I feel like that's just adult animation in general. Like, very rarely do you find good adult animation that isn't trying too hard. It's just trying to do its thing. Like, the ones that are doing its normal thing are the ones that have endured over the years, you know. The Simpsons, Futurama, you know, even Family Guy, there's at least a good heart and soul behind it, you know, like Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill. But with, you know, those handful of really good, really earnest attempts at adult animation, there's the 20 or some odd else ones out there that are just trying to go for the cheap laugh and to get the shock humor at the very least. Sometimes, you know, a lot of adult animation, at least in my opinion, a lot of adult animation really missed the mark of the fact that, yeah, it's adult, but it still should have a family charm, a good moral behind it. I mean, look, at the time of the recording, you know, look at half the shows that Fox has on their animation block. I couldn't name any of them outside of Family Guy, The Simpsons, Bob's Burger, and they got, like, you know, a good handful of other shows that are just there to, you know, waste time, which is a shame because, like, if you look outside of what the networks are showing more than anything else, there's some incredible people doing incredible opportunities to bring out some, you know, incredible fun adult values, especially in like the indie animated space. I could have a whole nother podcast for you just set up talking about what people are doing on their own to really bring forth good adult animation at the end of the day.
Nevertheless, all's well that ends well for the pandas. But what about our lions? Is the spark really gone from their love life, or, not unlike the writing for this show, they too have to try harder?
Look, Larry, I'm sorry about before. I guess things were bothering me, but it's not that big a deal.
Thanks, honey. I never want...
Do you hear that? We're all alone, and I'm still in H-E-A-T.
Wait.
What are you doing? We don't know how much time we have.
That's okay. She's got a way about her. I don't know what it is, but I know that I can't live without her.
That's enough.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, it could have been worse. He could have played We Didn't Start the Fire on the flute. Isn't that right? Cactus Chef playing We Didn't Start the Fire on the flute? And there's also one final joke about Siegfried and Roy watching pandas mating, as well as certain animal-related kinks.
Oh, it is happening! The special Troy magic once again triumphs.
We are like gods, except without the unattractive facial hair.
Oh, God. This is so awkward.
Oh, hello.
What was I thinking? Office romances never work.
And there would be a total of 14 more innuendo-filled episodes to air before the Pride was declared extinct in 2005.
Yeah, I kind of admit this was a little hard to sit through. But I'm still not sure how this could be considered both great and an atrocity at the same time.
Oh, you of little faith. That's what the magic and the illusion of the 9 circles are for. Alaka poof!
Limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, heresy, violence, fraud, treachery.
Shows like these are what I like to call a TV albatross. They're big, they got a lot of power behind it, but at the same time, it may have been a little too big for what it was trying to accomplish, using DreamWorks' clout to put together something that attempted to be marketable to a wide audience, yet the content was meant to zero in on something a little more narrow. Considering that NBC plunked down $2.5 million per episode in the hopes that they would duplicate the successes of other animated shows was so much of a calculated risk that it only seemed natural for the network to make this their most hyped program of the 2004 TV season, doing so much as to air promo after promo after promo during the Summer Olympics, and you can't get more gluttonous than promotional oversaturation. So much promotion that viewers did indeed tune in to that first aired episode to the tune of nearly 13 million viewers, only for that number to sharply decline in the weeks ahead, resulting in both NBC and DreamWorks eating a massive production cost, which they attempted to offset thanks to a number of product placements for various NBC and DreamWorks properties, up to and including an egregious use of Eddie Murphy's donkey character from Shrek trying to draw in more viewers. Further proof that greed can make you do some very strange things. And while the show itself was viewed negatively among TV critics, one of the more bizarre complaints the show got came from the Parents Television Council, stating that the use of anthropomorphic animals and the use of the tagline "from the creators of Shrek" in their promotions were seen by the council as much more family-friendly than this series, which the PTC stated could inadvertently draw the wrong audience based on the way it was promoted by NBC. Their campaign led to over 11,000 complaints to the FCC. In March 2006, the FCC ruled that the show was not indecent, and the PTC continued to prove that they have nothing but spare time on its hands when invoking unwarranted wrath, thanks to misguided claims of fraud in advertising. Though, truth be told, I'm more surprised the PTC's complaint had nothing to do with all the innuendo that appeared during the show's run, which makes me wonder if the PTC was either getting rusty or they were experiencing lust fatigue after Bible thumping over the wardrobe malfunction at the big game just a few months earlier. Which brings us to perhaps the real reason why this show flopped as much as it did. The fact that one of the performers who inspired this show was still in the midst of recovering from a life-threatening accident, leaving viewers wondering if airing the show at all would be in good taste, as well as NBC invoking some scheduling treachery and shuffling the order in which the show would air to uphold that good taste. Which can actually be seen as a double-edged sword because the magicians genuinely enjoyed what they were presented. In a 2004 interview with TV Guide, Jeffrey Katzenberg says, quote, "They laughed. A lot. They kept asking us to create more contradiction. Literally, one's blonde and one's dark. And every aspect of their life is as black and white as that. They're always playful with one another, always playing tricks on one another. They encouraged us to have fun with that." End quote. Then again, who's to say that wasn't trying to put a positive spin on an awkward situation? And since this was a show that you wanted us to look at, Nate, I'm gonna let you have the last word.
The thing is, I didn't fully hate this show. Like, even as I was watching it, like, I didn't fully hate it. There was a good couple, one-liners here and there. I can't hate the cast. I mean, who can hate John Goodman? Let's be honest with ourselves here. I mean, there was a lot of... I could tell that NBC could probably see a lot of potential here. It was just a giant cluster. I don't know if that was partially because of, the circumstances that happened beforehand with, Siegfried and Roy, but I mean, regardless, there could have been something good here. There's a video that I watched in preparation to this from another YouTuber by the name of Saberspark. I highly recommend you go out there and check out that video. He really goes into good detail talking about the entire season and talking about, some of the flaws of it. I think one of the biggest flaws is the fact that they're kind of trapped in this, fake city within the city in a way. the fact that they're in Las Vegas, why not explore Las Vegas a little bit? Why not have some weird and wacky adventures, in the city like never before? Kind of similar to what DreamWorks would do with Madagascar years later. It's again, the potential could have been there, but it unfortunately did not stick the landing.
Father of the Pride earned 6 out of 9 circles of Telehell. And hopefully that answers the question of how something can be considered both great and an atrocity.
Maybe not an atrocity, but certainly more of a boondoggle. Speaking of which, how exactly do I get out of this one?
Same way you came in. I said some magic words to get you here, and I'm sure the same rules apply to get you out, so hold still and let me consult my book of spells.
Wait, you have a book of spells?
Spells, Necronomicon. Same difference, but with better marketing. Now hold still and let me give this a shot.
Nothing happened.
Hang on, I gotta drink more Eye of Newt to get the gag reflex going. I think I have to sound guttural as I'm saying these words.
Look, I get it. Performance anxiety is a thing.
Oh, let's see. How's it go? Eye of Newt, toe of frog, wool of bat, tongue of dog. Sounds like ingredients for a stunt on Fear Factor. Okay, down the hatch and... Nate? Did it work?
It worked! I'm home! Thanks for the trip! Give me a heads up next time you need any help with any more animated atrocities!
Hey, if it just worked for him getting back to the surface, maybe it can work for me too! Bottoms up!
Oh, crap! Couldn't I have at least been Eddie Murphy's personality?
Next time on Telehell, we're down the stretch for Season 6, as we take a look at the first of 3 bombs from the year 1998. And in the case of this first one, it's a real big shoe that's gonna blow.
Get ready, because one of television's greatest legends is back.
Who are you expecting? Elvis? Whatever.
The Virtual Ed Sullivan Show.
Only on UPN.
Until then.
If it's not in Telehell, it's not worth a damn.
Our thanks to our guest today, Nate Ragland, host of the Postmodern Art Podcast. Listen to him wherever you stream podcasts or watch him on YouTube at Postmodern Art Podcast. And we not only thank him for being on the show, but we especially thank him for his patience. This episode took quite some time to put together, and largely because of circumstances beyond our control. So thanks, Nate, for your patience and also for just having a lot of fun. And don't forget that by listening to this episode, we're going to be donating money to Donors Choose and Prizeo. Listen between June 9th and June 23rd when we drop our next episode, and we'll have the final number for you. And now, here are the rest of the credits.
Telehell was written, produced, edited, and narrated by me, Justin Hart. All clips used in this program are protected under the Fair Use Doctrine of the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, and all clips used come courtesy of their respective companies and owners. Some of the music used in this program comes courtesy of YouTube and their audio library service. Telehell is a production of Horton Road and is distributed by Libsyn.
You know that thing that people do in order to communicate with each other without actually having to look each other face to face? You know, social media? Well, we do that. Look for us on X, Facebook, and now Blue Sky. all 3 of them at Telehell Podcast. And don't forget to like, comment, rate, subscribe, and pretty much tell us what you think of our show everywhere that you can stream us. And also in our complaint line, telehellpodcast@gmail.com.
Another great show from Mortimer.